We're live.
All right. Greetings and assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I'd like to greet you all who are listening and viewing the new educational paradigm online conference with the greetings of assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I know many of you are here live with us watching, and there are many of you who will watch this later at a later date because it will be archived. But I want to thank you for taking the time to navigate the streets and get here by whatever way you could, or get on this webcast. We know that there are many things that you could be doing on a Saturday afternoon. There are many things that you undoubtedly have to do on a Saturday afternoon, but you're taking the time out to deal with this very important subject. So we're not going to waste a lot of time with my pleasantries and talking. I'm Brother Ashad Muhammad, and I'm just going to get to the panelists who are here. We have individuals here with credentials, knowledge, experience. Everything that you need is here. We want to begin first with our wonderful sister, student minister, and Dr. Attorney Ava Muhammad. You know, she is the national spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, and was one of the first teachers at the Muhammad University of Islam in Chicago after the nation was reestablished and the MUI was reestablished. She is the wife of our great brother Darius Muhammad and the mother of 2 daughters. She's also a grandmother. If you spend any time with her, you know she loves her little grandson. In 1998, she became the first female minister to preside over a mosque and a region that was Muhammad Mosque number 15 and the southern region of the Nation of Islam. I was there and had an opportunity to participate with that firsthand, and it definitely was history and paradigm shifting. She is a researcher and author of several books, and she hosts a weekly talk show titled Elevated Places. It's a significant blog talk presence on Thursdays where it's played. Many of you tune in regularly, and it also airs every Sunday on WVON 1690 AM, The Talk of Chicago. All right. Next on our, so assalamu alaikum, Dr. Ava.
Wa alaikum salam. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're glad that you're there safe and secure, and we can't wait to hear some of the marvelous wisdom that you're going to bring to us based on the teachings of Honorable Muhammad and your unique experience being so close to know exactly what's in Minister Farrakhan's mind for what he wants to set up as it relates to our future and the education of our children and others.
Yes, sir.
All right, our next presenter and panelist is our brother, student minister, Brother Jason Kareem. He currently serves as the interim director of Muhammad University of Islam in Chicago. He has a degree in early childhood education and teaches Islamic studies at Muhammad University of Islam. Brother Jason is the co-developer of a primary level reading system for Black children called LVA, which is Language Vocabulary Acquisition. He has worked on a variety of creative projects, from children's books to developing educational videos and materials based on the teachings of the Honorable Muhammad. And if anyone knows this brother or has seen him, he's always quick with a smile and to deliver a pleasant word. We greet Brother Jason Kareem and welcome him to today's panel discussion. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you and all of our viewers.
Yes, and he also wins the award for having the most comfortable chair in the Nation of Islam for these types of events. He came with the exact chair for a 2-hour discussion on the educational paradigm. Now, we also have with us Brother Ridgely. Brother Ridgely, are you able to hear my voice? Okay, we had some technical issues a little bit earlier with Brother Ridgely. We were able to hear him, but he wasn't able to hear us, so I'm sure we're still working it out. Is there anyone else who has come on to the Hangout that I have not mentioned yet or introduced? Okay, well, with that, we'll get going. Well, Dr. Ava, we heard your wonderful comments yesterday, and it's something that I think we really need to understand. We hear so many things about education, what education is. Can you give us an understanding of what education is and the purpose of education we already know the state of our current educational system, but we want to know, not ours, the one that most of our children across the United States are in. Many Black children are in underperforming schools, schools that are steeped in white supremacy. What are we bringing to it as it relates to our understanding of education and the purpose of education? That's how we'll start.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Brother Ashad. And again, it is a great pleasure to be here. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, we give Him praise and thanks for His love and mercy upon the human family. And we thank Him more than anything for His intervention in our affairs in the person of Master W. Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi to whom praise is forever due. We thank Him for raising in our midst the promised Messiah and predicted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we thank them both for the living manifestation of Allah's mercy in our midst. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I greet all of those who are viewing with the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Brother Ashad, of course, the question of what is education is profound, it is layered, and I will just take one aspect of it from the words of Minister Farrakhan, in addition to those words that I shared in yesterday's introduction, and that is, as he notes, it is within every human being a thirst and a desire for happiness. And then he also states that happiness is recognition of Allah and His Christ in the moment. This Western educational system that we are in now, unbeknownst to many of our people and most of the American citizens, is recent in human history. Prior to the early 20th century, most people learned their field of endeavor through a process called apprenticeship. Once you mastered the rudiments of reading, writing, and basic math, arithmetic, I won't say mathematics, I'll say arithmetic, then as your upbringing and the degree of freedom that you had to think allowed you to be able to get in touch with your desire for what you wanted to do in life, as that became manifest, then you would be directed by those who had your interest at heart to a person or persons already engaged in that field of endeavor. And so if you want to be a carpenter, the best place for you to be is in a carpenter's shop.
That's right.
Watching and learning how to master that field of endeavor. In this Western system, we are also being trained for a particular purpose, but it is not our divine purpose. Woodrow Wilson, as Minister Farrakhan brings to our attention in Study Guide 21 of Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development, former President Woodrow Wilson, who by now is known to most as being an overt racist, in addition to that, he helped put in place the current public school system in America, which at its root is designed to produce workers for a wealthy class. This is not a democracy. Democracy is not only absent from the US Constitution, but it is a term that's been loosely and freely utilized and misused. We live in a capitalist society, and it is what is called an oligarchy or a plutocracy. It is governed by a handful of wealthy people. We as a general mass of people are taught and trained sufficiently to get jobs and work that help us facilitate the desires and needs of that wealthy class. And so this is the charge in the new educational challenge and the paradigm shift. We must break completely from the Western education that is based on white supremacy.
Outstanding. That's a great start. It's a great start. Brother Jason Kareem.
Yes, sir.
So what kind of things are you seeing now as the director of Muhammad University of Islam? We know that you are, because to be clear, not just Muslims go to F.O.I. Is that correct?
I'm getting a little feedback, so I can't make out your question.
Okay, let's try it. All right, how about a little bit better now?
Yes, sir. Much better.
All right. I was saying, as the, you're as the interim director of the Muhammad University of Islam presently, what types of things are you seeing? Because of course, we want to make sure everyone understands not just Muslims go to the Muhammad University of Islam. There are individuals who have taken their children out of the public school system and chosen to place them under the educational tutelage of the Nation of Islam and the Muhammad University of Islam. Can you take us into that a bit?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, brother, and first, I'm so grateful and thankful to Allah for being permitted to even have one vocal cord to be able to just bear witness to the beauty of our school given to us by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is an absolute honor and privilege to be able to serve forever how long that Allah will see fit. But I'm so thankful to you too, Sister Ava, and all that has prepared this wonderful discussion. But to get to your question, last year when we did an account of the number of students that are considered not registered members of the nation, of course, a lot of people don't know the beautiful jewel that we have of Muhammad University. When I speak with people and new enrollees and their parents, a lot of times people think that Muhammad University is really a college in a sense. And actually, to give you more actual facts or statistics, about 33% last year of our students would be considered non-Muslim students, be it that they are from Christian backgrounds or another faith denomination. A lot of students who come from families who are nationalists. Of course, our 5% community who is connected with us and others. But what's interesting is that this year, the more that Minister Farrakhan speaks, you see this influx of people going to our website and inquiring about enrolling. And I have the honor of interviewing new enrollees. And what I find most is that most of our beloved community that may not be registered members, they want their child, number one, in a safe environment. And of course, number two, they want their child to learn about themselves, which they know they're not getting in the public school systems and even in many of the private school systems. So absolutely, what I find is every time I hear the minister mention about education, we have a direct response to his words and guidance coming through our communication system, through our website and phone calls, inquiring about Muhammad University. And again, Muhammad University is for our people. And we are seeing even more this year, brother. I haven't done the full total of all of the new students that may not be of the Nation of Islam community, but there has been a drastic increase because people are dissatisfied with the current educational system.
Thank you. Dr. Ava, very importantly, Brother Jason Kareem brought up something that I think we want to talk about a little bit. Then is that there's a science to the reason why Muhammad University is named Muhammad University. And what he said was that some people think it's a higher level or upper level educational facility, but they don't realize that there are young people who go to school there as well. So can you take us into the science of why it's called the Muhammad University of Islam?
Yes, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has explained to us that the Muhammad in Muhammad University of Islam is Master Fard Muhammad.
That's right.
The term university is rooted in the term universe of Islam, which is not a religion, It is not only a way of life, but Islam is the very nature of the Creator himself. And so when you enter into Muhammad University of Islam, meaning coming from and out of the nature of Allah himself, then you have embarked on a study that has no end to it. Because as long as we live on this earth, we should be seeking knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and engaging in the process of becoming one with Allah. So Muhammad University of Islam, by its very name and its creation, is freedom, justice, and equality, and symbolizes a complete break from this world, which is quickly vanishing and falling in front of our faces. I want to say quickly that Donald Trump would not be elected president by whatever means he achieved it, were it not for the permissive will of Allah. And what we already see happening is the dismantling of the system that has held us hostage for nearly 500 years. And so in a way, we should consider this new administration coming in to be a blessing. Minister Farrakhan said that Donald Trump, if elected, would take us to hell in a rocket ship. And in fact, he said to one of his audiences on his thank you tour, he said, it feels like we're in a rocket ship. And so we have to be quick to set up the most critical institution that we possibly could, which is the educational system, because that is the means by which we secure our future.
That's right. Okay. Now, Brother Jason, Kareem, back to you. Tell us some of the things that, the different things, what differentiates the school system and what goes on at the Muhammad University of Islam and what is seen at the public schools in many cities across the United States of America?
Well, just about everything, to be honest with you. The number one thing that differentiates us from the public school system is that Allah God is at the center of what we teach. We know that in the public school systems, to even utter God, to even pray, is against the law in a nation that says on their currency, in God we trust. So at Muhammad University of Islam, at the core and the root of everything we teach, no matter what the subject is, be it science, mathematics, language, we always start with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So at the root, our children are getting that universal teaching as is described on our building and the function of our school as a university. Not only that, we start our day off, of course, with prayer. We practice, and we have of course, our drill, which is an exercise in unity and discipline. And then, of course, we have our normal coursework. But in our system of education, it is not our will or the will of Allah, which of course should be our will, to hold our children back who excel in different subject matter. So our children graduate very young. We have children that are in the 11th grade that are getting ready to graduate. We have children that are in the 8th grade that are very young, getting ready to go into high school. You know, not only that, the knowledge of self is being taught. As you know, that white supremacy is the poison that fills all of the school systems. But in Muhammad University of Islam, we have a place where our children can learn about themselves, appreciate themselves, see themselves in the proper light. And the proper light is the light that Allah God has shined on them of our aim and our purpose as human beings. Not only that, we have a separation between the boys and the girls, because we know by nature they not only learn differently, but it allows them to focus and concentrate, you know. I mean, there are so many things. I mean, something just very simple. It's safe. You can drop your child off at Muhammad University of Islam and you know your child is safe. There's no drug abuse. There's no gang activity. There's no fighting or anything like that. You don't have any calls to the police to come and extract a child from the school or Muhammad University of Islam. So we have a model institution. We are not perfected yet, but the more that we grow and develop and unify, we will get closer and closer to the ultimate aim and goal and the purpose of Muhammad University of Islam. But those are just a few things that separate us from other institutions.
Great, thank you. Dr. Ava, sometimes people may hear messages by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaking, and they may tend to think that because he's being critical of the educational system of this world or Western education, that he's anti-education. I've seen that them characterize that at times, and really nothing could be further from the truth. Can you clarify that for some people who may have some misunderstandings about Minister Farrakhan's views on education, and I guess just clear up some of the dirt that others have thrown on his name as it relates to that?
Yes, sir. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is himself a scholar and an advanced intellectual. Anyone who reads or hears his lectures, his mastery of the most difficult musical instrument in the world, the violin. This is a man who I sat with through 21 study units over a number of years. I know of no other person who can dictate books, letters, articles, and they don't require editing. I'm someone who received my own degree from Georgetown University Law School and admitted to the New York bar. What Minister Farrakhan and his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, are saying to America, no, this is not a condemnation of education. Education is essential to the development of human potential. What he is condemning is an educational system that consciously and deliberately produces Black people who hate themselves. What Brother Jason just said is so critical and can never be overemphasized. Anyone who desires to be an educator has to be sensitive to human life, because in truth, we are just simply the custodians of this young life. We don't produce life, we are agents of life at best. Even our own children who come through our seed and from our womb, they are not ours, we are the agents of their lives, not the source. And so the true educator observes this growing young mind. Minister Farrakhan once stated that each generation is born to solve the problems of its time. This means that the generation that we produce is actually more intelligent than we are.
Right.
But we know more than they do because we have lived and experienced things. And so Islam being supreme balance, the ideal education brings together the supreme balance between the experience and knowledge of the teachers and the educators with this blossoming intelligence that has yet to manifest itself. So Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam really provide our society with the ultimate example of what education can be. But as Brother Jason said, one element that is crucial beyond academic instruction is the safety of children as they engage in the process of being educated.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We've just been joined by our wonderful brother student minister Nuri Muhammad. Many of you already know him, of course, but I'm going to give you just a little brief bio. He is the international. Oh, I just gave him an upgrade real quick, didn't I?
Oh Lord.
He is the Indianapolis representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Muhammad Mosque number 74. He is an author, lecturer, and teacher in high demand. I mean, many of you have seen Brother Nuri Muhammad traveling across the United States, delivering 3, 4, 5 messages in the city in one day to different audiences. A perfect example of his leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who does the same. Under Brother Nuri's leadership there, the believers in Indianapolis have established the Muhammad University of Islam and Bismillah Child Care Ministry and Learning Academy. They have also opened the How to Eat to Live Cafe and Salon 74 Barber and Beauty Salon. So if you ever have the opportunity to travel here in Chicago, it's a little ways away, maybe about a 3-hour drive, but you get a chance to see a group of believers putting together their collective talents and skills and practical application of what they know to move their city forward. Brother Nuri Muhammad, we welcome you to this Google Hangout. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Brother Ashad. It is an honor and a privilege to be on the airwaves with you and Sister Ava and Brother Jason, and to all of those who put this most important program together. I've been getting a lot of feedback and having a little trouble staying tuned in. But by the grace of Allah, with modern equipment, we will be able to not just find the door, but get out of this 2,000 by 3,000 mile cage called the wilderness of North America together. So it's an honor to be on the air with you, my brother and sister and brother Jason, and all of those as we attempt on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to be a good tool and weapon in the hands of the Messiah, that we can be used as an instrument of salvation, a weapon to defeat our enemy, and a tool to build a new educational paradigm and an entire new world. It's an honor to be on the air.
All right. Well, brother student minister Nuri, I'm not really going to give you some time to, get into the flow of the discussion because I already know that you're ready. I want to ask you a question specifically. In your travels across the United States, I know you've spoken at colleges. I know you've spoken to youth groups, different organizations. And I want you, because I've seen it firsthand, how you connect with the young people. Give us an overview. What are you seeing? Tell us what you're seeing about this generation of young people and what they have to offer to our people as far as taking us out of the condition that we've been in.
Well, thank you, Brother Ashad. Of course, as we travel, we are able to see firsthand the verification of what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us about this generation. He said that this is the best generation that we've produced since slavery because they are the most fearless. The only thing that they lack is so unfortunately, not only has this generation become the most fearless, but anytime that fearlessness without guidance, then you have what is called reckless. And the generation, they are the most fearless, but they've become some of the most other stuff too. So in our attempt to move around in the schools and high schools and colleges, it's our job, hopefully, to detoxify and perform an exorcism on some of the other most negatives that the generation have become, so that they can take their most fearlessness that they are born with and multiplied by the knowledge of God, knowledge of self, and the program of independence that has been given to us by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we see that when they see that the synergism between courage and wisdom, when those two things come together, they synergize with one another and amplify the power and turn the generation and the young that are listening into what they deem and what we know to be an unstoppable man and woman in this time period. So that's kind of what we've run into. Most fearless, but there's some other negative most that must be exercised from among these young warriors so that they can multiply their built-in inherent preparation of courageousness times the guidance that God has given to us in this modern time by the man that has been anointed and appointed for this critical and crucial hour, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And when they got the synergism of those two, then they have exactly what they need to build this new world.
Thank you so much for that. Brother Jason Kareem, the students today and the young people, I'm interested in hearing your answer to this, because I think it could give us guidance for other educators who may be on this Google Hangout or who may hear this later. The social media aspect, the technology aspect, all of the children have phones, maybe more than one phone. Seems like almost every day there's another application that they can utilize to communicate with each other, sometimes unbeknownst to their parents or guardians. So I would like to know how you have approached that. Of course, we want to embrace technology whenever possible. We want to embrace innovation whenever possible. But what have you done to keep that from getting out of control or to be misused? Because we know that amongst the demographic of, I would say actually 13 to 16, they're on social media, they're on phones, they're doing this almost all of their waking hours. Even when you don't see them, if they're walking, they're even on it. It's almost 20 hours a day. So how have you dealt with that as an educator and as the I guess the equivalent, the superintendent or principal of the school? Because I see these principals at these high schools tell them to put their phones away. So how much of your day do you spend doing that?
Well, the beauty of Muhammad University of Islam is that we're under law and order.
Go ahead now.
And one of our policies is that students cannot use cell phones throughout the school day. We do permit tablets, and thanks to the donation of Brother Dr. Anthony Muhammad, who of course is a presenter on this conference over the next 3 days, he donated to our school Chromebooks that will allow us to utilize some very useful resources. We have to keep in mind that it's not technology that's bad, it's the usage. Yes. And unfortunately, we don't know or have not done enough research yet on the impact of it, because we know it has benefits, but there are some drawbacks that people are beginning to become more aware of. If you do any research, they begin to talk about how this quick response and the quickness of these apps and applications and tablet devices, it produces an effect in the brain similar to pleasure. And in that, it can become an addiction. Well, it's an addiction. Just take a cell phone away from a child and see how they respond. They'll respond similar to someone who maybe have a different type of addiction, and they will become very upset. So what we found, my brother, is that we utilize technology in the school. We have upgraded our technology infrastructure. We are looking to get more technology, but it has to be used in a way that facilitates the purpose of learning, which is to gain knowledge to benefit ourselves. We know that our students and other children will go to things that are considered in their eyes fun and stuff like that, and things like that. So we have within our school teachers that monitor the usage of it. So it can become something that can become a downfall if you don't put the proper parameters in place. And one of the things we have to teach our children is how to use it properly. There's so much out there that is just of evil, really. It's just negative, and it puts our children in a mindset of gossip and play and not focusing on that which could benefit them. So we have to educate our children on the proper uses, not so much keep them away from it, because it does have tremendous benefit. Now, I'll add this one thing, brother. What I read recently is that it is having an impact on student reading. And what I mean by that is that, and you know, when we go to the internet, we do a lot of skimming.
Yes, absolutely.
We don't do a lot of deep analytical reading. We look at titles, subtitles, look for keywords. So imagine a generation that are native techies.
Come on.
You know, children born and similar to what the minister said with the baby bottle, giving a baby instead of the breast milk and the nutrients from that, children are brought up on plastic bottles. Well, now the social interaction is plastic too. It's called an iPad or a tablet device. So not only they have Similac, but now they have the iPhone and iPad as their first interaction with life, you know? And so we're seeing impacts in writing, the writing of children today, because they're writing on tablets with their finger and they're not learning how to develop their gross and fine motor skills with writing with the pen. Their conversations are videos and things, so they're not talking at home anymore. So what we're finding is that children are not really reading anymore. And so when we give them a paper book, they skim and they just quickly want to just get the assignment done, as opposed to extract the knowledge that they can gain from reading various sources. So it has an impact, but we have to educate families and we have to train our children to use it to our benefit, just like this program. Look at what we can do with the use of technology, but we can also do something on the opposite end of being able to talk about education. We could do something totally negative. So we just have to teach and train our people.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Brother Ashad.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Yep, you come through.
That was such a beautiful answer by Brother Jason. I wanted to share something that the minister was asked this question at dinner one time, not too long ago, by a brother who was kind of complaining about the improper use of social media by those that are supposed to be conscious, enlightened believers, etc. And the minister made this statement. He said, technology is neutral. So it's not technology that is the problem, it's a user error. He said that Allah, Master Farad Muhammad, gave us the revelation and the devil gave us Facebook.
Wow.
Of course, he's using Facebook as a general term, not specifically just that one channel of social media, but as a representation of social media. And he said, use that platform to promote the revelation that Master Farad Muhammad gave. Now, there's an article I thought would support my brother Jason, and maybe can add it as a little footnote to what he's saying. There's a study now that they're calling digital heroin, where they have put children and teenagers' brains under scan to see how a heroin addict brain looks versus how a child or a teenager who spends a lot of face time or screen time looking at a screen. And the average child, they said in this study, spends 8 hours a day, teenagers 11 hours of screen time. And what they found, Brother Ashad, Brother Jason, they found that the same type of debilitating effect on the judgment centers of the brain, the logic circuits, the prefrontal cortex, even the area of the brain that deals with creativity, basic mobile skills, reading, writing, and common interaction with human beings is just as damaged with that much screen time for a child as if they were actually smoking heroin.
Wow.
So what they found in the survey is they found this, that most of the parents that work in Silicon Valley, the techs that work in Silicon Valley, they don't let their children even spend time but an hour or two a day.
That's right.
On social media, whether it was the Google founder, he didn't let his child, whether it was the Amazon creator, whether it was Jimmy Wells who founded Wikipedia, or whether it was Dr. Peter Wybrow of UCLA, all of them sent their children to Montessori schools that did not allow the use of any phones while they were in school, and no technology was even utilized. Yet they are the ones making money on it. They must know a little something.
That's right.
To be keeping their babies away from the digital heroin. So I would suggest that, remember that, technology is neutral, and it's a user error. We can use it for good or we can use it for bad. And we should remember that the restrictive law does survive in cyberspace as well.
Yes,
and
sir.
Allah is not just watching us as we interact in the physical public, but he also looks at how we interact in the virtual public as well.
Very good reminder, Brother Nuri. And if you
Brother
could,
Ashad, can I add one piece? I'm sorry. I just wanted to make
sure. Now I'm going to come back to you. I just want to make sure that Brother Nuri, can you make sure to put that link to that article if possible in the chat, or make sure our administrators have it so we can send it out and make it a part of the presentation so that we can send it out. Yes, sir, Brother Jason Kareem.
Well,
Thank you, sir. I remember, Brother Nuri, when you were speaking, it recalled words of the minister where he mentioned it during one meeting. I believe it was last Savior's Day. And he mentioned the fact that these devices are destroying our ability to be social beings.
Social beings, yes, sir.
So when we look at our children and their ability to communicate, and as you mentioned, the logic, the creativity, because if everything has been done in Silicon Valley by those who are creative, then we are just consumers of their creativity and we're not really creating. And I'll give you one example from my daughter had an app some years ago, and it was a cooking app. And she's sitting there making eggs and cooking, and I'm looking at it like, what? I said, it would be better that she goes into the kitchen with my wife, who's an M.G.T, to learn how to cook and how that will better develop mathematical skills and chemistry skills and all of those skills. But you have to remember, our children are being brought up in this coming generation. They have been immersed in these types of activities where in their minds they believe that they're creating, and in some ways they may be able to, but we have to really, really educate our children to understand that what they put in cyberspace remains. There's nothing that disappears or is hidden, and that they should, as you said, Brother Nuri, always keep in mind the rule of thumb, or the golden rule, that if we wouldn't do it in our everyday life, it shouldn't be done in cyberspace. So I just wanted to share that last point.
Great points. Okay, Dr. Ridgely.
Family, I've been listening very intently.
Wait, we're gonna give you. I want to give you your intro, brother.
There's a game being played on their platform, so excuse us who are listening. We're trying to deal with a technology that we could use, except for the gamers who play games, to interfere. Now, I want to deal with the purpose of education and go straight back to the root. And this is what Honorable Elijah Muhammad always does. He takes us back to the root. What is the purpose of the education in this world? And now what are we going to have as a purpose of education in our new world that we can have our children preparing themselves for? Let me just read something from Next to the Black Man, the bottom of page 112 to the top of page 113. He says, this new idea, this is talking about Mr. Yakub, This new idea put him to work finding the necessary converts to begin grafting his new race of people. He began by teaching Islam with promises to those who would believe and follow him. As Mr. Yaqub continued to preach for converts, he told his people that he would make the others work for them. This promise came to pass. Naturally, there are always some people around who would like to have others do their work. Those are the ones who fell for Mr. Yaqub's teaching 100%. The purpose of this world is to have you to be a slave for the powerful people, for the white folks, for those who are in charge now. That is the purpose of the educational system. Reading, writing, and arithmetic is for a purpose. What is that purpose? The purpose is for you not to know who you are, not to believe in yourself, but to believe in them and their civilization. So then you will feel want to be a part of their civilization, and you will take your skills and you will build for them instead of yourself, because now you have no confidence in yourself because they have taught you white supremacy. So to get out of white supremacy, you have to have a different teachings, and that's the basics of the history the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us as to who why the white man was made and what he was supposed to do, and that's what he has done. Now we have to teach our people another purpose. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that we should train children to build businesses that will supply the needs and the wants of our people. Not build businesses to overcharge, not build businesses to overcharge and to steal from the people, but to produce goods and services to make this world a better world. As a matter of fact, to bring in a heaven on earth, which has never been seen before. And now this is the dilemma. How do you train students to work in a world that they have never seen before? This is going to have to be an iterative process. We have to build what we can in terms of food, clothing, and shelter industries, and then work to make them perfect, but train our children to be able to work in them. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he sent to Muhammad University of Islam, he did not set it up to train people to go in and work for the white man, to go and work for a corporation, to seek a job in this system. And this is where the dilemma is with our children, that we want to train. What are we training them for? Are we training them for this world that they can see but it's corrupt? Or are we training them for a world that they cannot see, and we have not produced a vision for them to see that? So there's a lot of work for us to do. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us the keys, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. First, we need to develop the businesses to service food, clothing, and shelter.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Dr. Ridgely Muhammad, who joined us. We were having some technical difficulties, but I'm glad that we had his important voice in this. He's a very good example of the practical application of the teachings. Yeah. Dr. Ridgely Muhammad serves as the Nation of Islam's Minister of Agriculture, and he manages the 1,600-acre farm in Southwest Georgia, owned by the nation. He is also a member of the Nation of Islam's research group. He is an agricultural economist and vice president of the National Black Farmers and Agriculturalists Association. He has been involved in many educational projects for the Nation of Islam, including the formation of our national high school. He has a bachelor's and master's degree in agricultural economics and a PhD in agricultural economics. His minor was finance with a specialty in systems science. Numerous papers, numerous publications he has written, and also books. So thank you, Dr. Ridgely. We're going to definitely hear from you again. And as you know, we have 2 hours, and you're going to see this 2 hours is going to go by very quickly. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is day 2 of an educational conference that has been put together by the Ministry of Education of the Nation of Islam. And today is like setting the priorities. That's what the overall theme of the plenary sessions. This is determining what the priorities are in setting up a new educational paradigm to move forward. I want to go back to a couple of things that we touched on and go a little bit deeper into it. And this can be for anyone. Maybe Dr. Ava, you'll be great to talk to us about this one. I actually have had the experience of seeing a young child being given an actual physical book. And Brother Jason, as you stated, trying to move them like it's an iPad with their fingers, not understanding the actual turning of a page. They've actually just got it. Or any computer or television they see, 2-year-old child actually trying to move the stuff with their fingers. I've actually even experienced, I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit, my penmanship, my handwriting, my cursive writing is not what it used to be, because now everything is typewritten, everything is touch screen, everything is made for your convenience. So Dr. Ava, how do we approach that? You know, some people, I've seen them in different places. Some of the mothers will just give their children the iPad. That's the new pacifier now. They'll just give them the iPad, just give them the smartphone, and the child is just moving everything around, and you know, they don't have to deal with it. And they may be even sitting there on their phone doing the exact same thing. How do we attack that?
Yes, sir. I would let me just preface my remarks with, or rather the reading I'm going to give from Study Guide 21 of Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development. Minister Farrakhan also stated that texting is a practice that destroys creative ability. But in Study Guide number 21, part 2 of that study guide is predicated on a speech delivered by Minister Farrakhan entitled "The Origin of Blackness." In order for us to transcend the problems that attend the electronic devices and the advancement of technology, is to go back to the origin of who we are and the nature in which we were created. As someone referenced the fact that, I think it was Brother Nuri, talked about the CEOs of Facebook and Google not permitting their children to stay on those electronic devices.
Right.
Now, Minister Farrakhan raised an important question in part 1 of the study guide, and that had to do, I'm so glad that was put up there, because this is the root of how, this study guide is the root of how we come out of that. Now, Brother Ashad, you just laid out the sequence of a problem that is rooted in the destruction of family, the destruction of the union between the black man and the black woman. God gave every child 2 parents,
Right.
a male and a female, and both are essential to that child's development. You referred to the iPad as the new pacifier. And of course, the pacifier was the new bottle, and the bottle was the new breast.
Right, right, right.
And as I listened to the discourse about the children, I'm thinking to myself, it's the adults who are the heroin addicts in the digital world. It's the adults who are walking around with their heads at a 45-degree angle. And adults now, having been victimized by this system, have now become facilitators and enablers of Satan's objective, which is to completely destroy original people in his rebellion against the Creator. Everything that Satan thinks, does, or speaks is rooted in his opposition to the will of the Creator. The way we get past that is to return to our nature. Why do the youth spend all their time on their devices? Because they're not getting any love.
That's right.
We refer to them as gangbangers, thugs, hardcore, etc. But if you go back 20 years to the beginning of the disintegration of the mother in the child's life, the first teacher, the nurturer, every infant should be held Every infant's cries should be immediately responded to. Our children, many of them grew up in environments that absolutely militate against their development. They've been exposed to violence, profanity, and you said it exactly right. The adults are seeking escape from their responsibility to parent. Why? Because no one enjoys doing something that they are incompetent in doing. And we have become incompetent as parents as we move further and further away from our nature. As we talked about, and Brother Jason talked about, the idea of apprenticeship. How do you learn to be a mother? By watching and experiencing yours. How do you become a father? By watching and experiencing your own father. But if you've been propped in front of a screen since you were 2, watching Grand Theft Auto and Black Ops, the minister teaches that environment is more powerful than heredity in influencing a child. So I'll read this quickly. Here is the question Minister Farrakhan raises in The Origin of Blackness. And that speech, The Origin of Blackness, April 8th, 2001, which is part 2 of Study Guide 21, really provides us with that paradigm that we need to overcome these challenges. He asks, what is the prevailing idea at the root of the knowledge that has produced our present civilization? That idea, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, is the idea of dominion and rule. It is the rule of the Adamic race. All of you that study know that there are people on the earth called pre-Adamites. The pre-Adamites are the aboriginal people of the earth. And so our children must be returned to themselves.
Right.
Because we too have a prevailing idea whose time has come. It is time for us to return to our proper place.
That's right.
As the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. And the reason wealthy white people don't allow their children to indulge is because they are after dominion and rule. They are not interested in being a consumer group. Right. They are the producing group. And so we have to commit ourselves to empowering our children. This Joshua generation, as it is called, is born to be in power. They are not interested in you telling them, get all A's and you'll be accepted in society. They don't want acceptance in this society. They were born to break from it. And we have to teach them empowerment as well as become examples of empowerment. Yeah. That is how we reduce these devices to tools. As Brother Jason said, there is great value in technology, awesome, immeasurable value, but the issue is utilization and dominion and rule over a thing, because the black man is the originator. And so you're never ruled by a thing, you rule that thing.
Beautiful. Outstanding. Wow. Now that brings up a great point. It reminds me of what I read in Farrakhan's book, The Torchlight for America, A Torchlight for America. He talked about the difference in the approach of the educational system. Instead of someone learning about mathematics, I am mathematics is what's taught to the young child. Instead of learning about physics, I am physics, I am science, I am these things. And when you're studying that, it creates a different type of energy. And I want to bring that point to really any of the panelists at this point, because we've had, or this is a really wonderful discussion. Dr. Ava, you spoke about breaking out of this world's paradigm. And Brother Nuri, you also mentioned some of the technology that we're using right now. Many of this world's leading entrepreneurs and scientific developers, many of them, Facebook is one, Bill Gates, these are people who left the educational system and actually impacted the world in such a way that no school can actually even claim them. And yet this is something that has been considered a limiting factor when it comes to members of our community trying to make things happen. I would like for you all to touch on that, Brother Nuri and Brother Jason Kareem, if you could.
Yes, sir. Well, of course, the invisible degree that you get, I don't care what you went to school for, you get an invisible degree behind your degree in fit-inology.
Fit-inology.
I don't care what your degree was in, you get an invisible one in fit-inology.
Yes.
Where they do, as Sister Ava said and Brother Ridgely, they're trying to figure out a way to make you become employee and consumer instead of a producer. So they never teach inside of the school system. And something that Sister Ava said brought a quote to my mind of the minister whenever she dealt with the absenteeism of true mothers and fathers as the first line of defense. The minister said this, he said that we don't have problem children. Our children have a problem. We do not have problem children. Our children have a problem. Anytime someone graduates from a school, that school that they graduate from, especially an institution of higher learning, is called by that person their alma mater. Alma mater, the minister said, is German for other mother. So if the school is the other mother, then the real teacher, the real educator first is the mother, as the messenger said, and is that father. But when the mathematics are done, as Sister Ava was pointing out, unfortunately, when Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu did a survey in the University of Michigan, he found that the average Black father only spends 7 minutes a day with his child, and the average Black mother spends 34 minutes a day. Now that's a big problem, because if you got 24 hours in a day and mother and father combined for only 41 minutes, who has these young soldiers' mind for the rest of that time? And the other side that they found in the study is that when a child spells love, a child does not spell love L-O-V-E. A child spells love T-I-M-E. So whoever shows that child the most attention and gives that child the most time is the one that child figures is the one that loves them. And naturally that becomes their force of influence. So in saying that, these great creators and innovators, they have to think outside the box. And they understand that whoever gives you, as the minister said, the diameter of your thinking prescribes the circumference of your activity. And if you don't think outside of what the educational system is teaching of this world and learn something superior, then you are bound to continue in inferior conduct, and you will not be able to follow that instruction that God gave man in the beginning. Be fruitful, multiply. Look at the third one, replenish the earth and subdue. The word replenish means to replace with something better. So it's the job of every generation to bring birth to a new generation that has a superior brand of people than the generation that currently inhabit the planet. So a real mother and a real father doesn't want their child to be like them. A real mother and a real father wants their child to be better than them. In fact, the word father and farther come from the same Latin root word, because the job of a mother and a father is to take the child farther than what they have ever gone. So I'm putting a challenge out there, because there has to be a proper orientation of mind in those of us that say we believe in building a new educational paradigm in the future for our people. The school, Muhammad universities are too small in every city. We need more students in the Chicago Muhammad University, in Indianapolis, in San Francisco. And there's a problem with inside of our group, our people, and in our nation. Well, we're not willing to give what we need to give and do what we need to do to make sure that this is institution becomes the launching pad for the establishment of a new world. We need some people that love and are willing to defend and fight and make a sacrifice. It's hypocritical to pull up in an S550 Benz and drop your baby off at a public school when you know it's the killing field. It's hypocritical for us to have Prada and Gucci and furs and gators and then drop our children off at some public school. Now downgrade from the Lexus and get a regular Toyota. Downgrade from that Gucci bag and go to Target, or as a sister called it, Target, and get you one of the 1999 bags. But reinvest in our children, because at the end of the day, Brother Ashad, the #1 investment of a real man and a real woman is not their 401k, not their IRA, not the home they live in. The #1 investment is their sons and their daughters.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ridgely, did you have something?
Well, in terms of investing in your sons and your daughters, what are your sons and your daughters going to do if you don't have a business for them to grow it up into? My brother just gave $1 million, to North A&T. He worked for Merck. He made a lot of money, but he can't give his child a job at Merck. He can't give his child any part of Merck. He's done his work for Merck, and Merck has made him a lot of money, gave him some money, and now his child has to start all over again. Integration destroyed our base that we had. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad tried to put us back on that base with food, clothing, and shelter. But now we are so strung out in this high-tech world that we want to work and make a lot of money, but make the money for him and not make the money for self, which may not be as much money. But nobody wants to step back. Nobody wants to step down. Everybody wants to have the best. You can't afford the best. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us against wanting that which you cannot afford. It'll turn and make you a slave because you got to go in debt to have it. This is why the first thing the white man did in America, he set up universities for the purpose of teaching the Bible, not for science, not for math, not for agriculture. Harvard, Yale, Cornell, University of North Carolina, University of Alabama. These were seminaries to teach the Bible, because through the Bible and their interpretation of the Bible, they were to rule the minds of the Native Americans and to rule the minds of the blacks. Now we've been given a different interpretation of history, a different interpretation of the Bible, of God, through Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that's why we have to have that as the first basis for our children to reorient them to the reality of God's world and not the reality of the artificial world. And then we have to build businesses so they can work into, instead of us just training them to go to work for the enemy. And this is where the confusion lies, is what are we producing? What is the valuable final product we are producing in our universities? Are we producing those that's going to work for the white man, make a lot of money? Or are we producing those who will help us build our businesses in our own communities and our own institutions?
Okay, great point. Now, of course, we know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that education is the torchlight of civilization. He says that civilizations begin with knowledge, and a civilization ends when the knowledge that originated that civilization begins to decline. Now, just citing a few statistics here, we know that America's 12th graders rank near the bottom of the 21 industrialized nations in mathematics, and somewhere in the lower half, maybe the lower quarter, in science. Over 42 million American adults can't read at all. and another 50 million adults are unable to read at the 4th or 5th grade level. 20% of all high school seniors graduate and are functionally illiterate. Now, that was just for Americans in general. Now, the statistics for Black people in most cases are even more troubling. Only 12% of Black high school seniors are considered proficient readers. This is statistics that we were given by Minister Farrakhan recently in some of the messages he delivered. 54% have below basic reading skills, and it is estimated that 40 to 44% of Blacks are functionally illiterate.
God.
Black children are almost 3 times more likely than white children to be labeled mentally retarded, and 2.5 times more likely to be placed in remedial classes. Even when Black students show potential equal to or greater than their white counterparts, they are 40% less likely to be placed in advanced or accelerated classes. And Black males have the lowest level of educational attainment. Now, I would like to talk about some of our institutions, and because when I read those statistics, I think about Minister Farrakhan's tour to the Black colleges, many of them in the South and Southeastern part of the United States. He toured those areas. And Dr. Risley, of course, you could touch on this for us as well. And he emphasized what you were saying, to study those types of sciences that would actually allow us to become builders or make us builders and rulers, you know, engineering, agricultural engineering, those types.
That's right.
Minister Nuri, I know you've spoken about the sciences that they did not want to teach us. They don't want us to learn. So I want you all to take us in as we head into the final 45 minutes of our discussion. I want to kind of expand this and open it up as we're dealing with laying the foundation and developing solutions. I want you to touch on those. Those statistics were troubling, not only of the American population, but specifically we know Black people, whether it's health, politics, education, we suffer. Brother Nuri, can you shine some light on that for us? And feel free to chime in also, Dr. Ridgely, as it relates to the practical application and our Black colleges especially.
Well, you know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was the one that pointed out to us that there were 3 sciences that the slave master never wanted the slave to learn. And what we found in research is that when you look into the establishment of the first approved institution of higher learning for Negroes, which was at that time Howard University, they were debating in Congress in 1867. Yes. And their debate was that we don't want these Negroes in our schools with us. Let them have their own school. And then there was a motion put on the floor in the United States Congress that said we will sign off on allowing Negroes to have their own colleges and universities. However, there's 3 things that must never be taught in any of these institutions. And that is the science of business, the science of warfare, and the science of mating. Of course, mating has 2 sides of it. Mating deals with a species reproduction, meaning parenting and having children, but it also deals with the process of selection of a mate, which means how does a man choose the right woman for him based on his purpose, and how does she choose the right one, and then warfare and business. So these are 3 sciences, and I would say that in that definition of what we will consider to be functional illiterate, we don't want to just get Black people to have the basic knowledge of reading, writing, and arithmetic. We want them to also have the science and knowledge of mating, business, and warfare, because at the end of the day, for them to highlight those 3 must mean that these are particular cornerstone knowledges that will help us to build our new world. And I say that those that are enrolled in the Muhammad University of Islam, the stable data for a Muslim mind. See, we believe in do for self program of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So anybody that's working for the enemy has to properly define their job as a plantation. Call it that every time you got to go in. Call it the devil's job. And when you start using the term devil's job and plantation, then it keeps the mind dissatisfied, where you'll be working on your steal away program to get off that plantation and get the hell out of the hell of a devil's job and do for self. So no black child in Muhammad University of Islam is being taught, encouraged, or influenced to want to be a slave working on a plantation or a minion on the devil's job. No, we believe in do for self.
Can somebody deal with the black college reality? Are the black colleges the solution if someone actually, if a child, because of course we know that there are many high schools across the United States and they're graduating, and someone may be listening to this and their child is saying, well, maybe the best case scenario is to go to a black college. Maybe at least I can have something there that will assist me. I know that we established a partnership with Tuskegee also, as far as that's concerned. Is that a solution perhaps that many individuals looking and listening to this, is that a road that they can go down perhaps? That's for anyone on the panel who would like to approach it.
Dr. Rizzi and Sister Ava, want to start?
Yes, somebody else. The statistics that you brought out bear witness to a plan. In other words, they're dumbing down America on purpose. They're dumbing down the black community on purpose. They first, through integration, got us to come out of our institutions and to go and work for them. So they trained us in jobs that they would hire us in to work for them while we left our business institutions behind. Now, we have been successful in building them up. They don't need us anymore. They have computers and robots to do a lot of the things that we used to do. They don't need us anymore to do that, so they're dumbing us down. Even when you go to a historically black college like Tuskegee or North Carolina A&T, there were also land-grant colleges that taught agriculture, but they don't have farms that actually farm anymore. They don't teach people how to farm anymore. They just teach you how to get a job with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, with Monsanto, with John Deere. You're not taught how to run a farm. There's only one college in America, black, white, green, or yellow, that actually teach you how to farm, how to set up a farm and how to run it. So they are setting us up to be completely dependent on a mechanized, computerized world that they can control, and to make us seen, feel, and looked upon as useless, so that when they come and they wipe us out, nobody will cry, not even us. This is why we must announce. Can I get to college? Let me tell you, a sister called me up, asked me what to do. She's in college. When you're in college, you're in one of those institutions, if you already have determined for yourself what you want to do, what you want to build, or what type of business that you want, you should know that before you go there. And then when you're there, you force the school to teach you what you need to know. You ask the questions to the professors. You research in the libraries what you need to know to run your business. Make them work for you, because their purpose is to train you to work for them. But you can make them work for you if you already know what you want to do in your mind. Then you can force them to teach you. I did this when I was at North Carolina A&T. I forced them to teach me what I needed to know to help the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at that time. So we can do this if we train our people early enough to develop their future in their mind, what vision they want to be, and then force the system to help them to build that vision instead of throwing it into that rat race, into that slaughter pen, where they're going to be trained into a dead-end job.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yes,
Brother Jason Kareem, can you touch a little bit on the feeder system?
Just wanted to add
yes, ma'am. Sorry.
more content from Study Guide 21. Minister Farrakhan states here, that the education system that is destroying our children, we have to understand that when we say it's the system, that is like saying it's not the spider, it's the web.
Go ahead.
But the spider produced the web. All systems come out of the minds of men and women. A man is coming, he said. That's the point. And in that man is the idea for the new. In him is the paradigm shift. In him is not a finite world, but in him is a world that has no end. It is so magnificent, it is called everlasting life, world without end. Now, if we go back to the earlier discussion of apprenticeships, think about Donald Trump, who just successfully took the presidency of the United States. Where do you think he sent his children to school? Why were they sent? What was the objective? When Master Fard Muhammad came here and spent 3.5 years with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who at that time was Elijah Poole, just a young man struggling to survive, one of the immigrants from the domestic terrorism of the South who ran to the North seeking refuge from the South. What they had was an apprenticeship. He watched God. He learned directly from God. And out of that relationship, that apprenticeship, he found and identified his divine purpose. And that is the function and responsibility of all of us that desire to be involved in the educational process. Dr. Yaqub, the scientist who set in motion and originated the process by which the Caucasian people came into existence, told his uncle at the age of 6, Dr. Yaqub was a 6-year-old child, when he said, I am going to make a people to rule over you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said all children should, by the age of 6, know what they desire to do in life. By the age of 13, they should have the equivalent of a bachelor's or so-called undergraduate degree. And then by the age of 18, our children should have the equivalent of, in this dying world, a doctorate degree. Our children's minds are too fast and too superior to the thinking of this world to survive its school system. The system itself destroys our children, particularly our Black males, by the time they reach the 3rd grade. And that is why those who own and operate the prison industrial complex are able to study our children and see where they are emotionally, intellectually, physically at the age of 7, 8, and 9, and they're able to predict where those children will be by the time they're 17 or 18 years old, so that they can make an inventory for a prison industrial complex. Why? The United States of America is built on a system of free labor. You can't move away from your foundation, no matter what you devise and design. This economy, based on white supremacy, requires that a large segment of the population work for little or nothing. And so now that economy is based upon a prison industrial complex wherein inmates
Go ahead.
When our people get snatched off the streets, or because of the school system that they are in, leaving them ill-equipped to function in a society, when they ultimately, inevitably get arrested and locked up, they're not in these prisons twiddling their thumbs. They're in there doing work for multinational corporations. And so we are at war, and we have to understand we're at war. And when you are in a war, it is not business as usual. It is time to turn inward. It is time to gather our children to us to provide them with the sufficient protection, proper diet, and proper home environment, so that no matter where they go to school, before they ever leave that house, even while they are in the mother's womb, they are being oriented to the new idea, which is the dominion and rule of the original man.
Wow. Now, Dr. David, there have been a couple of collaborative efforts and times where, like, for example, we have some of our students who are actually studying medicine in Cuba. Of course, we know that Comandante Fidel Castro recently passed, but that's a program that some Muslim students have participated in. We mentioned earlier the connection with Tuskegee. Are we talking about, as we say, turn inward? And of course, we're revolutionizing the whole homeschooling discussion, because now it's becoming a theme where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a long time ago said, if we didn't set up the MUI, you can homeschool your children. Is that correct? Dropped off. Brother Jason, can you tell us a little bit about that? Give us some updates on that.
Well, I'm not familiar with the quote of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in regards to homeschooling, but of course it makes sense.
I mean, setting up the schools in the homes if we weren't able to have sufficient schooling. That's what really is a precursor to what they talk about right now, which involves, they call it homeschool.
Yes, sir. And it is absolutely, I've seen it on numerous news programs and have read about it, that it is absolutely on the rise. People are waking up and they are taking their children out of schools. Maybe not yet on a mass scale, because you're still dealing with an economy where people got to work. And so you have to unify. So where you have a conglomerate or a church or a community center that certain individuals can homeschool, or in a church, there's a area where children can be educated. I've heard the minister say it on countless occasions that those things should be utilized, that we have to do that so that our children can have not only a fighting chance, but can grow and develop into sanity, grow and develop as a human being, grow and develop as we are seeking to build a nation. And ultimately, we just have to separate from the system. That's the only solution given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's all throughout Message to the Black Man. We have to separate. We have to have a separate institution that is designed and set up by us for the benefit of us. And so we have to continue to support those who desire to have homeschools, who desire to educate their child in a proper way that is free from the poison and the toxicity of the current educational system. Yes, our students from Muhammad University, many of them have gone into some of the HBCUs. One of the Tuskegee University, as you mentioned, a few have gone on to Cuba. We have basically a 100% graduation rate over the last several years, and some go into trade school. But as Dr. Ridgely says, when we're having a graduation, it's one of those bittersweet moments because you're proud of the accomplishments of our students, but we have to have something for them to come back to. So as a nation, as a community, we have to have the businesses and develop the industry, so as our children go out to get higher knowledge, they can come back to their own instead of fitting right back into our enemy system. And that is one of the key things, going back to one of your first questions to me about what makes Muhammad University of Islam different from other schools, is that it's the idea which undergirds the institution. And part of the idea is not only that we teach our children that they are gods, but that we are here to build a nation, not to get a job. And we are constantly fighting against social engineering that is constantly feeding our children through media, movie, and radio, that getting money quickly is the aim and objective of this life. So we teach our children that we have to build a nation, but in order for them to really visualize that and realize that, the adults have to do their part in preparing something for them, so when they graduate from school, we don't have to lose them to these colleges, and then we lose them if they make it through college, then we lose them to the world where they don't bring back the skills that they've learned to build a nation. So we have much work to do.
Outstanding.
Right.
So we have many who are viewing this on YouTube, who are looking at the paradigm, they're viewing.
Again, with all like Muhammad, because he gives us an example of what we need to do. You know, I mentioned food, clothes, and shelter. Well, let me show you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. Under food, farmland, family, dairy, eggs, cattle, packing plants, supermarkets, restaurants, bakeries, fish markets, for the clothing, clothing stores, clothing factories, dry cleaning, importing. This is what he did now. From the shelter, food, apartments, construction, from the education, the University of Islam, the newspaper, and the services, banking, engineering, construction.
Kind of hard to hear.
I'm not talking about a factory. I'm talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that we must redo that. We must go back to the blueprint, Muhammad economic blueprint, and the example that he left in the time to pick up and get to work and put these businesses back up. So we train our children, teach our children, you know, places to go, and then we can use our science and technology to make it much better than it already is. In other words, we can take over the food industry for America, the clothing industry for America. We can get back into construction and take over construction for America. We need to go through time.
Okay. What we're doing is we're on the, there are many looking at this on YouTube, and they're also looking at it on Google Hangouts. There are many who may look at this archived afterwards. We're having some little technical difficulties here and there, but I think you're getting the substance of what we are discussing here from our wonderful panelists. We have Dr. Ava Muhammad, the national spokesperson for the Nation of Islam, and Minister Farrakhan. We have Jason Kareem speaking to us, representing and directing the Muhammad University of Islam in Chicago. And we have Student Minister Nuri Muhammad, one of the representatives of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, based in Indianapolis, but travels all over the United States, bringing the word and this information to different groups all over the United States. And of course, you're hearing the voice also of Dr. Ridgely Muhammad, who is the manager and caretaker of our farmland in Georgia, and he is talking to us about practical application. We want you to stay tuned, because at 4 o'clock there is going to be a plenary session following this discussion, and then there will be other segments, and at 5 o'clock there will be the program Identifying Priorities, and the speakers are Imam Sultan Muhammad, Dr. Anthony Muhammad, Brother Shahid Muhammad, Brother Frederick Douglass, Dr. Abu Petrie, Dr. Tony Muhammad, and Brother Kamal Rashid. These are all great educators, Islamic scholars. We have individuals who are, I mean, Dr. Shahid is known as the math doctor. Brother Frederick Douglass, he has taught at numerous schools across the United States. I know that he was here for a time as a professor here at a college here in Chicago. So you're going to be, really be edified and strengthened. Brother Petrie also has written books. These are all individuals who have put the teachings into practical application in their own way. We're headed into the last 20 minutes or so of this discussion. And so what we want to do is give everyone a good send-off. Now, I know you all are family men. you all, and that's one of the reasons why you're looking into the future, because you want to set something up. We want to set something up for our children to be able to walk into. How do we, at this particular time, make this the mass movement that we believe that it needs to be? This is the question I want. Actually, each one of you, I'd like for you to take a little portion of it, because we have these hidden jewels. You mentioned, Brother Jason Kareem, in the beginning, that our system, it's a hidden jewel. Many people don't know, and once they actually get a glimpse of it, they say, man, I wish I would have known this earlier. We would have taken advantage of it previously. So I'd like for each one of our panelists to take a little piece of that, please.
Well, if it's okay, I'll start. One of the things we have to first start with is to become crystal clear on a shared mission and a common cause. And this is just not limited, this problem is not limited to the Nation of Islam, but this is for all of our people who are in need of re-education and retraining. And so we have to establish and really understand, as an educational institution, because Muhammad University is just not a school, it's an institution and it's a system. It's not isolated to Stony Island or Indiana or any other part of the country in which we have it. But we have to know clearly, and we do understand, why we exist. Why are we here as an institution? What must we do? We have to also not only have a shared mission that is very clear to everyone, but we must also have a shared vision. In other words, what must we become in order to make sure that our children have what they need when they move on to higher learning? What are the things, or what must we become? And that vision is laid out to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but we have to share in that for our success. Number 3, this is the big one, because we understand the mission of why we're here. We have idea and we have a vision, but the big part is, do we have a collective commitment? In other words, how must we behave as a group of stakeholders in a nation that knows that we don't have a nation without an educational system? We cannot educate our children in the enemy system and then expect them to come back and produce something new when they've been tainted by the old. So we have to now have a collective commitment that we all agree on and follow, of what will be our behaviors in order to accomplish the vision and the mission. And finally, step 4 is that we have to have shared goals. And I think that's what we started off with, these priorities, because there's a lot of things we got to do, but we got to be so crystal clear on our goals and the steps that we need to take and when we need to take them, so that we can begin to make greater progress. So those are the main things, the 4 things that I think we need to make sure that we have all together and we are working in the same direction, because this is something that I know that we can do. The God would not give us a school and not know and not be aware that we can be successful. We have to work out the problems. We have to make sure we exercise greater unity, and so that our children have something in the future. I have a daughter. She just turned 13. Pray for me. She's a teenager. But when I look at her beautiful face, I just cannot see sending her to these institutions. She's so innocent. And I want to protect what she sees and hears. I want her to be a good Muslim. And I want her to contribute to the cause of freedom, justice, and equality, so that I have to make the commitment to continue to work hard with my brothers and sisters, not only for my daughter, but for all of our nieces and nephews and children, so that maybe we can start soon and have our own college, or maybe we can start soon, as we are talking here in Chicago, where here in Chicago, and we can make sure that our children can get rid of the prerequisites that litter colleges, that take the children's and the parents' money and put them into debt, so that if they do go to college, it may be for 2 years just in their primary courses of study. But we got to start somewhere, but we have to start with a shared mission, vision, a commitment, and clear priorities and goals that are written down. I have to say that, written down, not out in the world, that we all are working from, and that we all agree to work towards that greater goal that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has set before us.
Wow. I'm getting text messages and everything saying how much people are enjoying this conversation. Okay, go ahead, Brother Nuri. Yes,
sir. Well, I concur 1,000% with our great interim director, Brother Jason. And I just would add a footnote to that and say this. If the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad went to jail for education, if every time the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as Dr. Ridgely was out the great profile of all of the accomplishments of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad prior to 75, if the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad never built a mosque and attached to it a laundromat or a car lot, never built a mosque and attached a dry cleaner, never built a mosque and even attached a grocery store. But the only thing that he ever attached to the mosque that he built, over 150 of them around the world, was a school. Then the fact that he went to jail for education of our children, and every mosque that we have erected has always had a school attached to it. I think he's showing us by means of explanation in his books and example by the way he operated, that he's telling us that our children are our #1 investment. And if that is the case, the proper orientation of mind will cause us to make a concrete decision. There's a saying that change comes when the mind collides with a new idea, and the one that has that new idea makes an uncompromising decision to do something different, and they don't quit when they're tired, they quit when they're done. So if we have an uncompromising decision that we've made, and we are going to quit not when we're tired but when we're done, then we have to come out of the school system and begin educating our own babies. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said you can have a university with 3, or you can even have one under a tree. He's telling us that the cuteness of the building nor the size of the classroom is what's significant. What's significant is the curriculum and the love of the teachers for that child and for the future of us as a people. So I would hope that those that would listen, we can make this a mass movement. The time we make up our mind that our children are #1 investment.
Outstanding point. Dr. Ridgely? Okay, we may have lost him. Okay, we're going to go ahead and have a couple of other questions. Actually, we can bring it up to modern times. I don't know if Dr. Ava is still with us. I don't see her mic open. I don't think she is. But I think we can touch on these two things since we've talked about breaking out of this this paradigm. There's a couple of things going on right now. We have, Colin Kaepernick. We have Jesse Williams. You have the students really on the campuses across the United States leading the protest movements, leading Black Lives Matter protests, leading the change that we've been talking about. Is something happening amongst that generation? Is something happening on those campuses? This is for both of you, Brother Nuri and Brother Jason Kareem.
Well, absolutely. It's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's just time, it's time. And you see, sometimes we get frustrated, with how change occurs. Change occurs in a gradual process. And sometimes it's very quick, but in nature, change occurs in a very gradual way. And, the great work and the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan across not only college campuses, but of course, various broadcasts. And I mean, he said it all. And you can't help but to be in his presence and be changed, and that your consciousness be uplifted. So when you see different sports figures or actors and entertainers using their platform to take a stand or to just kneel and not say anything initially, you know that we are in the time where the black man and woman are rising. You know, it's just so beautiful. I love it when I see it in all of these different areas. It's just not in a church or a mosque, but you see it on a football field. You see it on at an awards show where our people are unafraid to speak to the issues, where you have politicians that skate around all of the issues. And you have so-called leaders who are cowards and don't want to speak to the real issues that are facing the poor, the oppressed, in particular the black man and woman of America. So we are in a time where we are in change, that Satan's time on the stage is over. We are in the days of Allah. And since it's that time, that energy and that essence that was put to sleep 6,000 years ago, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad states, in our Savior has arrived. That's the only way that the enemy could rule over the original people, is that we were put to sleep. But now God is on the scene and we're waking up. I thank Allah that I get to witness it in this time period, to see the consciousness of our people rising and their fearlessness, because it is the hope that change is on the horizon.
Thank you. Brother Nuri?
Yes, sir. Well, I concur with my brother. Of course, you know, we know that anytime that a person becomes in the public eye as these great entertainers, whether it's Colin Kaepernick, Jesse Williams, these are regular brothers and regular sisters who also have access to YouTube and NOI.org, and you can see in their language, and even when you get a chance to shake their hands behind the stage or off the stage behind the curtain, they always will tell you, man, I love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's done so much for me. And so what I believe, as Brother Jason is saying, we are witnessing, is there are seeds that have been planted in the mind of multiple generations of our people, as the minister has been on this battlefield now for 62 years teaching. So he has affected literally 3 generations of people have the installation of some aspect of Farrakhan's mind in their head. So now whenever this new generation pops up that has the 3 generations of the seeds of Farrakhan in their mind, and the minister said this, he said, in this day and time, even the devil is working for God. So now you have the winds blowing in the form of a Trayvon Martin being killed, a Mike Brown, a Sandra Bland, a Tamir Rice, a Walter Scott, a Freddie Gray, Trump getting in the office. All these winds are blowing, and it's providing sunshine and water for the seeds that have been put into the minds of 3 generations of our people by the uncompromising teaching of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we know that it says in the Bible in John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was God, the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. That's a process. So the installation of the Word into the minds of our people with the force and power of God has now reached that time period where we're seeing, with the new revolutionary spirit come up from the entertainers and the college students, that it is now becoming flesh, and it's only a matter of time before it shall dwell among men.
Brother Ashad?
Absolutely. I got to hear your voice on Colin Kaepernick and Jesse Williams and the revolutionary people. We speak about it all the time on Elevated Places, but we want to hear your perspective on that. Absolutely. I
am in full agreement with Brother Jason and Brother Nuri. And, you know, going back to the new paradigm being contained in a man, because it operates out of a state of mind. Everything is born from the mind of the human being. And the originator of the human being is the creator himself. And when a man of God is on the scene and has an overwhelming presence on the landscape, such as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has had over these past 6 decades, that is really unequal. I have not heard of any other person who has had such a profound impact as this student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when a man of God is present, it actually affects the atmosphere surrounding the planet. And so as the word spreads, and as the brothers have noted, we would be amazed at who is watching the webcast.
Come on.
I was just told, Brother Ishmael Muhammad was just telling me the other day about the Seahawks team.
Yep.
And how many of the players, including Richard Sherman, who you know is extremely outspoken. And here is a brother who graduated from Stanford, straight A's. And yet, while he was able to take what he wanted from that university, he was so rooted in himself as a black man. His father is a man that picks up garbage.
Man.
But he grew up in a home with a strong male-female unity presence. I would also like to add to that, you know, in the film Social Network that gave the story of, is it Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook? And you remember at Harvard University, a set of twins, very wealthy, were also students. And they claimed that they invented or developed the Facebook, and that Mark Zuckerberg stole it from them. And they wanted to file a lawsuit. And they were in the dean's office at Harvard. And the dean at that time was Larry Summers. And he told them, he said, at Harvard, we're a brotherhood. We don't litigate with each other. We don't sue each other. They said, well, and I'm paraphrasing all this, they said, well, he stole our idea. He answered, well, then come up with another idea. He said, here at Harvard, we don't train our students to get a job. We train our students to make jobs.
Man.
And that to me is a microcosm of dominion and rule.
Yep.
And as Brother Nuri noted about the education and how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad literally went to jail. And not only him, but a large number of the believers in Detroit. Right. The Nation of Islam was in Time magazine in 1934. And we have to give a shout out to our archivist and curator, Brother Carlos Muhammad, who is pulling together so much priceless information that to help us in the study of the Nation of Islam in America, which is crucial for all Black people, because just studying the nation is empowering. That we in our little mosque and study groups could function within the belly of the beast of the globe and look him in the eye, led by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and now Minister Louis Farrakhan, and push back on them and raise a flag in their midst. But there are photos of the F.O.I, the M.G.T, and the children in their berets out in the streets in Detroit, Michigan in 1934, taking on the police department. And they noted in Time magazine that the children were disappearing, and they used little racial slurs to refer to Black children. But they said, we noticed that the children are disappearing from the schools, and we found them. They're all turning up at the among these Negro Muslims, this cult group. And they went, the police and the truant officer knocked on the door of Muhammad University, and someone looked out and said, what do you want? They stated their purpose, and that person slammed the door in their face. And the next day, the F.O.I went to the police station, to confront them about coming to one of our schools. And so we have to regain that type of dedication and commitment, and integration has had a large role in making us watered down Black folks, watered down Muslims who are caught up in the materialism of the United States of America. We need to return to our own.
That's right.
That's outstanding. And with that, I want to thank you all for tuning in. We're back at day 2 to a wonderful start. And it's only day 2. More programmatic going on tomorrow as it relates to the educational paradigm and setting up. I want to thank Brother Jason Kareem, Brother Nuri Muhammad, Dr. Ridgely Muhammad, and Dr. Ava Muhammad for taking time out of your busy schedules to give to us the new educational paradigm. We have absolutely listened and learned. We're looking forward to
not live close to one another. Jobs to your children so that they will not want to be concerned.
Okay. Wrapped up at 4 o'clock.
Is it still, it appears to still be live. The button says live.
Yeah, we're still live.
So I just wanted to apologize for any of the inconveniences that those viewers may have had. We're going to go ahead and cancel for the rest of the show today. But what we're going to do is make sure that we make the recording available, and we'll keep you updated with whatever's going on in the latest information. So if you go to http://youtube.com/c/thecollective9, and I'll put it up on the screen. You'll be able to see the recordings to the videos of today and the others that we've done, as well as related content. And there's a form that we're going to ask you to complete as well at tinyurl.com/contactwed.